Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for The Hunger, which is Richard Garfield's, I believe, newest game at the time of this recording, of course. This one came out in 2021, didn't it?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I got it at Gen Con.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's released now, though.
Yeah, so basically Vampire Clank is kind of the overall gist of it. So I think if you like Clank, you'll like this. I do like this better than Clank. I feel like it's not an end-all be-all of person who goes the furthest back and then makes it out will win. Because, funny enough, in both games that you and I have played together, the person who made it to the rose ended up not winning.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, even though it's usually pretty close.
It's a little bit of luck, though, too. The rose can work really well for you.
Mm-hmm.
I got this token on the last game, and I went for the rose like real hard, and it just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And they're pretty good. Like, they actually, my favorite part of the roses are the fact that they do have special abilities, and in Clank it's just a treasure.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the cards that happen to come out in the row. No, this one has a pretty interesting take on it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
I think that I played Clank once, so my perspective on it isn't great. But the cards are more interesting in Clank. I like the theme of this a little bit better.
Sure.
Just because Clank's generic fantasy, and this
is... Well, you can get Clank in space, which is...
True. Yeah,
which is
true,
better than regular Clank,
one.
in my opinion.
I like the art in this. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like Pixar-y. Like, some things look human-like, and some things look really wild. I don't like... After I played this like probably 7 times now. I don't like that they're... I see what they're going for with the cards. There are some cards you just absolutely don't want. They're dog shit.
Yeah, mainly the drunk ones.
Yeah. And when you see those, I mean, it's interesting in the way that you definitely want to avoid those, but sometimes whenever cards collect, you can mitigate that, and it's actually worth it. Or if it's at the end of the game and you know you're not going to draw that, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I see a lot of those cards, so sometimes it's just like, oh, it's another one of those. But that's just on repeated plays. I do like this game. I think it's fun. I think I love the theme more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way that it connects to the cards.
That is true, yeah. With the cards, it's because it's like the humans are just worth points, and a few of them are actually worth hunting because they give you stuff. But most of the time, they're just pretty much if they're high value points, they're most likely have a negative side effect or give you nothing.
Yeah.
I will say the first time we played this, I was like, it just seems like your deck gets bogged down, and it does. Like, which is what you don't want in a deck builder. It's actually the opposite, because normally you fill your deck with good stuff, and then you weed out your starter cards. It's the complete opposite of this one, where your starter cards are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're more powerful with humans, but the more humans you get, the worse your deck is.
And I will preface it with, there's nothing more satisfying than playing a game with like 5 people and watching someone who shoots up in points at the beginning of the game, and they're just like, oh, humans, and then like at the end of the game they're like, well, shit, I can't move.
Yeah.
And then they slowly drop over that. It's amusing to watch.
Yeah. The point is very like swingy. Like, you guys were about like 15 before I even got to like 5.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I like hunted, and it's like, boom, okay, now I'm up there with you guys.
Yeah.
And only lost by 3 points.
The rhythm of what cards you gain is very important in this game. There's certain points where you need to gain certain types of cards. I'd say at the beginning of the game, it's not imperative for you to gain human cards unless you're going to gain a lot of points for them, because you're going to have that opportunity later.
Right, yeah, because I went for familiars at the beginning, and then vampire cards, which can still be, I mean, I feel like in this game more so than Clank or a lot of other deck builders, the market is really, like, it really relies heavily on luck.
Yeah.
And I know that's in a deck builder with a market, you are looking for certain cards, but in Clank at least, most cards have a movement and most cards have an attack, so you're never like, oh, I can't like attack with any of these.
Yeah.
I mean, by halfway through the game, I was like, oh, fuck, there's really nothing there that I want. I don't necessarily want humans because I don't want my deck to get filled up.
And I think this game, I personally think it's best at 4 or 5, just because being the lead player isn't important until you have a lot of people who are eating up all the cards, and then that's whenever you have a wider area, because this is always the amount of players plus 1. So if you're playing with 6 players, you have 7 spots of cards, which is really interesting, and it gives you a lot of choices. But
True.
You also see it as like one of the mid players, and you're like, oh, there's like 5 cards that I want to get, and then they're all gone. By the time they get
Right.
And you can strategically move forward. That's a lot more important in a larger count game. You can also jump over people, and that's more fun.
Yeah.
I like there's a card that allows you to jump over players, and I played a game with 6 players, and I just jumped over a bunch of people and got to the end whenever I didn't think I was going to succeed.
It's right here, form a bat. When you move, you may skip spaces that contain wells or vampires.
That's valuable whenever you're playing with 5 or 6 players.
Sure.
It's valuable now, too, especially with the well action, but yeah.
Yeah. Brett, what do you think?
Well, I have the same problems with this game that I have with a lot of games, so let me set that aside and just say, mechanically, it's certainly more interesting, and it's certainly more fun, and throughout the game, it was a lot more balanced than some of the deck builder variants, because it's not a simple deck builder, it's a combination of mechanics. And, so the deck builder introduces luck. It doesn't have as strong a mitigating as a lot of deck builders do.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except the fact that you can simply pass on the crap early.
Sure.
And wait around for stuff to get good, or wait around for a big stack to be worth it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good mechanic.
Yeah, you can kind of wait and then sandbag. Like, if I had that umbrella, like, I was like, man, and you were looking at it, I'm like, that's like 9 points right there. But I knew I didn't want to risk it and be like, I guess I'll buy on 14, then draw a hand of humans, and then not make it.
Yeah.
So it definitely has. I feel like it has a tighter feel, running back, because and both Clank and this have that kind of midpoint where you can kind of risk it and stay a few turns more, and then see if you can make it back, or you're just like, I'd rather be safe than sorry. But you can still hunt and you can still do stuff on the way back to the castle. Whereas in Clank, you're kind of just heading out of the cave.
True.
Like, that's really it. You're like, I got the Gauntlet of Destiny, and that's 25 points, and then I just have to make it out, and then you get the extra points if you make it to the tavern.
Right.
Same gist here, but it is an interesting take on deck building, and I don't know how I feel about it. The mitigation of your deck is probably my only gripe. They technically have it. They have a few cards that let you digest one card, and that's fine. Like, cards letting you only do one card, that makes sense. But I don't like the chapels or the churches. Those never feel worth it because it's only one card as well. And I feel like it would be a lot better if you had a hand of yellows, and you went there and you could get rid of all those cards to thin out your deck.
Or if you had bought a big stack of cards, like on the 1 count thing, and you're like, there's one card that's really bad in there, I need to get rid of it before it comes back into my hand. That's a good way to get rid of it. You do have to be a little lucky and be around that spot, because you're not going to move across the entire board in order to get rid of one card.
Exactly. And they're placed in very odd spots. Like, white's down here, yellow here, then for some reason blue is up there.
Yeah, I wonder if some cards are worth more in general. It seems like blue have a higher value than white cards. Because I had a requirement to hunt white cards, and there's not a lot of white cards that have high counts. I'm sure they're in there.
No, and the white cards I typically have the bigger negatives.
Yeah.
Like Spicy and Drunk. Last time we played, I had a bunch of drunk people. Luckily, I always got Teddy the bear before. I was like, oh, nope, don't want to play those.
Yeah.
So there are ways to cycle through your deck or draw more cards. It's not like they're completely absent, but for my personal taste, I would have liked it a little bit more of thinning of your deck.
Yeah.
Like you just go behind a bush and just shit out all the human remains that you eat, and then you're like, oh, thank God, I feel a lot. Woo! That's a Bippo, man. He just really messed up my stomach.
Or maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, like
more than 1.
It would be nice if there was something about that. I did lie. There was another negative. I hate this board.
Yeah, I would like to see an expansion with a completely different board.
Yeah,
I would buy an expansion for it potentially.
Yeah, it's just even though like when like looking at it, yeah, I can clearly see bottom half is the plains and top half is it's a forest. It just does kind of bleed. It's an overall drab kind of like color scheme. Mm-hmm. Like you can very clearly tell the spaces, which is nice, but like it's not immediately obvious, where a lot of mechanics very much determine placement of the board.
Right. And
the board's not super like obvious as to what everything is. Like you were talking about, this spot doesn't immediately look like those connect. You can tell that it's cobblestone versus, but it's like very, it's almost like they ran out of ink when printing this, and it like has just a very
well, I think they're trying to give it that like Transylvania like dark look to it.
Right.
Drab.
But it does bleed a little bit.
Yeah.
And these cards kind of reflect that. They're a little brighter than the cards are.
That's what I'm saying, is like, yeah, because I thought the same thing. Oh, Gothic era Victorian London.
Yeah.
But then the cards have characters like Bippo and Chauncey and stuff, and then it's bright, colorful, whimsical characters.
Right.
So then, like, otherwise if they were totally going like the Gothic route, it makes sense.
Yeah. You know what I would like to see? And this is just a random. I'm not a game designer, but if they had separated the board into 4 separate parts, and they came from progressively stronger decks.
Like each section has their own deck.
Yeah, so if you knew like I need white cards, then I'm gonna go to the white section and gain cards from over there, because I'm more likely. Maybe there are other cards mixed in, but you have a higher chance of getting a certain type of card, kind of like in Dead of Winter when they have like top bottom. You know, like that would be interesting. I think that would be cool if they did. You know, I don't think Richard Garfield does many expansions with his games.
No,
he did a rework of King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo
has a couple of expansions.
Yeah, I think they have the power up, where because the base King
Halloween,
of Tokyo
which was I think just characters.
I think so too.
But power up actually. Is
Carnival of Monsters doesn't have an expansion. It has another. It wasn't even. I don't think the second one was designed by him. The Monster Expedition. I think it was just in that universe.
Yeah. I think.
You're right. He doesn't really support his games a whole lot.
Yeah.
The other thing, it's probably one of the more fiddliest of rules, and they have a very, very tiny ass reminder over here. Mm-hmm. But when you hunt in the forest or the mount or the plains, you get an additional like victory point. I think all of us like forget that. I know I forgot it multiple times, and that's not something you could easily rectify.
Yeah.
Like if 2 turns later you're just like, wait a minute, I did hunt. Oh, who was that? Like
I remember it just because that's. For me, if you're not going for the rose, that's the only incentive to going to the forest. And I push for the forest in like the middle 4 rounds, and then I shoot back because if you sit too long, you're going to get stuck. Mm-hmm. I will say the graveyard spots need to be changed. The only time that the graveyard spots can be useful in certain scenarios if you have, because you can get these from cards. Mm-hmm. I've seen people who have 4 or 5 of them at the end of the game. More often than not, you have 2 or 3, and it's just not worth it to go to those spots. Yeah. If you were able to hunt along with those, it would make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't hunt on those spots.
You're too busy.
Graveyard, no humans, no living humans there.
You're not getting so much from those graveyard spots that it's going to be like overpowered if you hunt, in my opinion.
Well, no, it could, because if you go there and then you get to look through these, right?
Yeah.
So you look through them and then you're like, oh, perfect. Now I'm gonna hunt those.
Yeah.
You could really combo off.
But everybody could do that.
Everyone could, that's true.
And you could cycle through...
The fact that they're hidden, though,
and then if you put 2 of your tokens there and somebody else goes there and you I know that they may be looking at those same tokens, maybe they're going for that. There's like a higher level of strategy, which maybe is too complicated. But this is the advanced variant. I think the more simplified variant is you just take a token if you go to those spots. But again, if you just
I think that's way better. Because the way you taught me was you swap them, right?
Yeah, and I
hate that.
The original game, you just draw one, but you still can't hunt. Which
I'll take that over swapping, because you start with 2, you pick one. I'm like, I can go for this one because I know it. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to go out of my way, I just want to take a token. I don't want to be like, oh, I was doing this.
Yeah.
Because the cards that give you them randomly, that's where the luck comes in. But if I was able to go here and be like, oh, there's actually gain a point for each hunted fleur-de-lis. Oh, great.
Yeah.
But me having to forego this one for this one, I just don't. I don't like that. I would much rather just draw.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get to maybe, and that could easily be house ruled.
Yeah.
You could just either look through one, or you could change it if you don't want that level of strategy and just randomly draw from the top.
It makes more sense, I suppose, to do that one. I saw Advanced Variant, and I'm like, it's a Richard Garfield game. We can go do it. I never even played the original version, and the map is exactly the same, I think. I mean, it's two different.
I've only played this when
maybe
you
it's
saw
a
it.
little bit different on the other side. I'm not really sure.
Oh, it's got to
Yeah.
be different.
Yeah.
The tavern is a neat little spot to go to. That's just, I think that's almost like, it feels like it's a must. If you're able to get there first, just go there, because that's going to give you a point bump. It's also going to give you most
But
likely humans.
If you go early in the game and you get a spicy card out of there,
That's true.
That's end game for you. Like, you have to digest that card, or you're just screwed.
Yeah. Well, the spicy ones, I think early game. The drunk would be good early game, because it gets you further, 4 spaces further from the castle.
It does move you without it being your move. So
Yeah.
you can move on top of that.
So the negatives are kind of interesting, because the drunk sucks really hard when you're trying to get back to the castle. But yeah, he's great early on. If you have 2 drunks, that's 8 free movement.
I've seen a couple people who played this for the first or second time who have got one of those drunk cards, and I'm like, oh, I can figure it out. And then they just, like, they know that they're going to die as they're going back, and it's just like, okay, well, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen people just walk off from the game and be like, fuck this. Like,
Right.
And I understand, like, the first time you play it, when you don't understand the rhythm of the game, it doesn't make any sense. I will say, Brett scored higher than me in my, like, first 3 games. You did well for your first game, for sure.
I think both you
this
and I
is the
did.
highest I've ever scored.
94. And it sucks, because 91, I'm sitting here a 3-point difference, and I know I fucking missed Hunt, and that's when it's that close, that's just such a fiddly rule.
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't exist. I feel like either make it...
Or they need to put it on here.
Because there's no player aid. Not that there needs to be a player aid, but every game really should just have one by default. Yeah, just somewhere that you can physically... Because it's like, imagine... I'm really, it's my own fault, because I'm the one closest to it.
Yeah.
Also, a reminder of you move first, then hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, because typically in most deck builders, it's you
way.
just can do whatever you feel like. Right. But the fact that you do have to move, because there are specific spaces that you can't hunt on.
Yeah.
I mean, minor gripes, like, the board, that's whatever. That one really is annoying, because that can apparently make or break the game, but you probably missed it, so I don't really care. I just hate the fact that that's just tiny and it's nowhere
I'm
else.
kind of curious what the other side of the board is, if there's anything different. Because I've kind of looked at it, but since we've been looking at the same board, maybe it's more noticeable.
I mean, but I do know
Is it?
it looks the exact same.
Why is there 2 different sides? I don't understand.
It's got to be different. Maybe this one's smaller.
This one has different
Fewer
points.
spots?
Oh, this is.
Oh,
there's also
you have
this
a
rule.
leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
have-
if a major...
If you're in the mountains, you're still safe
Yes.
at the end of the game. Whereas in the graveyard, you're only safe in the.
Or on the advanced version, you're only safe, 3
That's
spaces
a lot of
out.
ink if that's really the only difference.
Yeah, true.
The board still looks like shit. I was hoping it would be like, for some reason,
Same-
basic is brighter.
Same amount of treasure spots. I don't think there's more spots that you can
The treasures are nice. I do enjoy those, because that's you can like combo off with them.
Yeah.
And
And we didn't even see half of them, honestly.
yeah, because some of them you could definitely strategize for, like if you can get an umbrella, and it's like, oh man, lucky me.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. That can be a huge point swing at the end of the game.
True.
Like, really, the complaints I have with it aren't major. Like, they're minor. I was gonna say standard deck builder, and it kind of is in terms of how you play a deck builder.
Yeah.
But it does kind of flip it on its head that, I mean, really, the bigger the deck in any deck builder is just always bad.
Yeah.
But this one is significantly bad. And they do have a few things you can get. Like, Brett had a shit ton of humans, and I think a few times he was like he had zeros, but the rat specifically was like, hey, actually, no, you get 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
only
good.
under some circumstances
Yeah.
it would be good if it were
Exactly.
a little more.
Yeah.
But it's luck that it has to come out,
Yep.
and this is something that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I really don't have anything else. The player powers, I think, are lame.
Yeah.
Like, they're one-time
They're
use, and it's like...
interesting, and they're for different values. So if you play like the green character, if you get 20, you get a smaller power, but you get it earlier on. So
Oh, okay.
it's a little bit.
Ours
more
were all
benefit.
30.
Yeah.
I didn't even use mine. Mine was gain 1 and digest a human. Like, and digest would be That's something they should have done, because digesting is really just thinning it out of your deck.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if there was like an Elysium or kind of rule where, like, or Tyrants of the Underdark, where like they're worth a certain amount of points when you get them, but if they're digested, you get those points as well.
Or I could see like,
But then there got to be more opportunity to digest.
Or they're worth a significant amount of points, but then you do have to go out of your way. Like, for example, if Ruth was 1 point, but I digest her and she's worth 5, then it's like, oh, okay, that might be worth going there while she's in my hand. Because 1, it's a 2 for you. Like, yeah, I go out of my way to get rid of 1 card, but it gets her out of my deck, and I'm gonna get endgame victory points.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
Even like as a vampire power, having like a vial that you can drink, and you have to go to any of the places to like digest it, but it gives you like a power for 3 rounds or something.
Yeah,
that'd be like interesting things. There's a lot of brick and mortar, like you get humans, you get powers, you get familiars, and like a lot of the familiars are very situational. So you're kind of, that's why it kind of feels like a little luck driven, especially whenever there's like a bunch of humans that you don't really need, and you're like, okay, I don't really know what to do.
And if that's all you can buy, that's your main source of points. And then if you don't get those things that allow you to mitigate it, you just have a deck of humans and you're not getting to play.
Yeah.
Which can happen. I mean, like you said, you've seen it where someone is just like, there's nothing I can do about getting these out of my hand. And it's like, oh, I want to make it to the chapel to get rid of this drunk, but I can't get any movement. So you're just sitting here for about maybe an hour and a half.
Or even if like you went to one of these spots, you get an additional point if you're discarding one of the same color, but you can discard any type.
It does sound like for a lot of things, it's like they could slight tweak it, they can improve it, they could do a lot with this, but it is what it is. I wouldn't be upset if someone asked me to play this. It's not horrible. I do like this better than regular Clank.
Yeah.
But Clank in Space, I do enjoy quite a bit. But none of them are even in my top 10 deck builders.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. I've most of the people who have discussed this and like reviewed it, I've seen very close. Either people like Clank a little bit more, or this a little bit more. It tends to.
It's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They're kind of the same game.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to.
I think Clank is a lot more traditional as far as how a deck builder, like you get a card that does this thing but has a penalty, but this has the human thing, so you're constantly muddying up your deck, but you can mitigate that with cards that help because you have human in it. So there's a little bit more to it than just base Clank at least. Clank, but Clank also has more to the cards. Like there's more varying abilities.
Yeah. And I think, both of them have different avenues of points. Not a victory, because deck builders typically are just a pool of points.
Yeah.
But what Clank does have, that this one, I'm guessing the human is supposed to be kind of like that luck variant, because Clank, of course, has the dragon, and you make noise, and then those go in a bag.
Yeah.
Clank, what pisses me off most about Clank is not only is it random of drawing from your deck, random from the market, it's also random from the bag. So it's a little bit too much random for you to die, and then that's how the game can. In
the one game that I played, I strategized the entire round, and I died on the spot next to the exit.
Oh.
Just because I drew like 5 or 6 of my own tokens all in a row, and I didn't have that many in the back, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yep, you hit the nail on the head of why Clank is very frustrating for me. Because someone could be like making all the noise and they have all their tokens in the bag, but yours are the only ones.
It's the same issue with Quacks in those bag games, but Quacks is goofy.
Yeah.
Quacks you don't take very seriously.
Right.
Like, there is some level of strategy with Clank, whereas Quacks is just...
Exactly.
I hated Quacks for a period of time, too, and then I enjoyed it.
I love Quacks. I've loved it from the start. All right. Well, you guys got anything else?
Not me.
All right. On the scale of 1 to 10, we'll go this way. We'll start with Brett.
I'll say 6.
6? I think
better than average.
Yeah, it is better than average. I think I'm gonna give it a 6. I was waffling on 7, but that feels a little bit too high. It's a little bit too fiddly, especially with like points are so obvious, and then this is not something especially new players, I could be like, oh fuck, I didn't get my extra 2 points. Like what I hunted the entire game in the forest. And then we spent the latter half of this entire discussion talking about what they could do. So I was like, oh man, actually, yeah,
They have a lot of interesting ideas, but they could have a lot more interesting things to add.
To really delve into the theme or make it like a lot more strategy, just instead of just being like, okay, I got my cards.
Yeah.
Here's what I do. I do nothing. So, yeah, I think I'll agree. I'll give it a 6.
I would go in between. See, like, my enjoyment of the game is like a 7.5. I enjoyed even... There are certain games where you're given a shit hand and it's not as enjoyable.
Yeah.
As far as the actual game construction, I'd give it like a 6.5. So in between a 7 and a 6.5, I'd say a 6.5 probably.
Okay.
But yeah, I play it again. I enjoy it. I don't like that it tends to upset people in my group personally. Like I had one person in my group who was just like, "Fuck this." And I know that we'll never play this again, which is why I'm selling this copy probably.
Oh, gotcha.
But I do enjoy it, and I think it's a fun game.
Yeah, and the 6 and 6.5 isn't bad. That's slightly above average.
No.
But whenever, especially as these games tend to come out, and you kind of have to think of when they come out. This came out in 2021. Is this the best deck builder of the year? Absolutely not. And I mean, I rank and I rate and discuss games based off, how they are by themselves, but also how they compare to other ones. Would I play this over all the deck builders I have? Probably not. Like, would I play it? Absolutely. It's not bad. I mean, there's enough thought. Like, it's not just it's not like Dominion. Well, no. Dominion's a very true deck builder. I'm trying to think of a deck builder that's just kind of like, just whatever, Yeah. There's no thought behind what you're doing. Yeah. I played an anime game at Gen Con a couple years back, and the guy I was playing it with, he was like a demoer. He was way too into it. I was like texting my friend, "Hey, you come get me. I don't know how to leave."
Is that where you got your sound effects for Bullet?
No.
Hawaii.
Senpai! No, it was... I think it was called... Oh, I would know it as soon as I saw the box. But that had, like, nothing to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this game sucks, and this guy's weird.
It's a popular genre, it seems like, right now. There's a lot of them that I like.
Yeah, and because of that, you have to be innovative.
Yeah.
Not that this isn't. It's on the way.
This corners the family game market, as Richard Garfield does really well. And I can see... Like, I didn't play this with my daughter while she was here, but I could see her enjoying this.
Yeah.
Because it's not so complex that you can't get your mind around it if you're new to board games.
True.
And it's not so simple that you feel like you mastered it after a couple plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still enough luck and there's still enough strategy to want to keep trying.
Yeah. I will say the cards, though, unless he comes out with an expansion, once you've seen them, you've seen them. Like, you know what Holy Water does, you know what Spice does. In fact, even the familiars are my favorite part. I had like 7 of them, and I was like, oh man, this is surely going to work. You don't get any points for them. But because the familiars are meant to mitigate all the issues we've mentioned.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they come out. It is nice they give them different names. Because it's the same card, same power, but at least a different name.
I think they want you to be able to like go in hard on one thing and be able to do it twice, because that feels that's fun. It's like I get to do it, but I get to do it again.
Yeah, like you got it with the draw 2.
Yeah,
and then you
like
shuffle your deck.
If you got 2 of these rats, that would be.
Oh yeah.
You could just gear your deck towards that. That would be really interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, Ursa or the bear gives you like deck control, which is kind of what I was aiming for.
Yeah.
But man, I thought about my initial strategy, because once I got this, if I could have gotten, there's probably 3 of each familiar in here, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Most likely.
I know there's
a bunch of birds.
There's also there's an additional promo in this. There's like 10 wolves in it, so you could just focus on wolves and 30 points at the end of the game, I'm sure.
These crows or ravens, they give you a point each turn you don't hunt. My initial strategy was just to not hunt and see how many victory points I can get for it. Not a lot, I can tell you that much, because it's only 1, and you definitely can swing like 15.
Yeah.
So yeah, slightly above average game. Alright, so that's our thoughts on The Hunger. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.